Hello everyone, and thank you for joining today's Ad Exchange Buyer Training all about mobile. I'm Asha Belendran, and I also have one of our mobile specialists on the call with us today. That's Barbara Pearman, joining from New York. And we'll be taking you through today's training. So first of all, I'm just going to show you the agenda for today. So we're going to start off by introducing and tackling some of those mobile myths that are commonly raised to us. And then we're going to move on to why mobile is so important in today's programmatic world. We're then going to go through what mobile offerings we have on Ad Exchange and introduce a couple of new launches that have recently come out. And then we're going to wrap up with how it all fits into programmatic in terms of programmatic mobile. And then we'll be running through a couple of resources that you can take away with you today. And then lastly, we'll have Q&A at the end of the session. So if you're new to Hangouts on Air, then the Q&A panel is actually located in the left-hand side of the Hangouts on Air interface. So if you click that button, it should pop up with a Q&A panel, and you can submit your questions via that channel. And then we will address them towards the end of the presentation. You can submit your questions at any time you want. Okay, so I hope that sounds like an interesting and exciting agenda for you today. We're going to move on now to tackling some of those mobile myths, and I'm going to pass it over to Barbara, who's going to go through this for us.
Hi guys, my name is Barbara Pearman. I run the mobile team on the side. So we're just going to walk you guys through a few myths that we commonly hear in the mobile space. So the first myth that we hear is that mobile web is on the decline and it's better to wait until a buyer is ready to buy on app. So Asha, if you don't mind just showing the truth, this is absolutely a myth currently. Mobile web is alive and well and is actually slightly over 50% of the overall mobile impressions available on both a smartphone and tablet. On Ad Exchange alone, we see a 58 to 42% split from mobile web to app, and this is similar trends to what we're seeing across other exchanges. Mobile web can also be an unbelievable experience for a user. If you take a look at a 10-inch tablet and compare that to an 11-inch MacBook Air, there's basically no difference. So you can get a very immersive, engaging unit in a mobile web, one that's just as strong, if not stronger than a desktop, and certainly can be stronger than an app, which typically has smaller ads. Another thing that we're seeing in the mobile web space is that a lot of publishers spent 2014 improving the functionality of their sites. We see a lot more mobile web optimized sites, which means that the site has been pared down to fit a mobile screen, but not just pared down in terms of size, but pared down to highlight the functionality that is the most useful as well as executable within a smaller device. So now that there's so much mobile optimized web inventory, we've seen performance for these types of units increase as well. So certainly don't wait until you're ready to buy app. There's a lot of opportunity in the mobile web space. Next myth. So the next myth that we want to highlight is that you don't need different creatives for mobile campaigns. Though you can take advantage of some of your desktop creatives and let them run on a mobile app or even on a mobile web, for instance, take the 300 by 250, this is absolutely not a best practice. We do suggest that you do make mobile-specific creatives, most specifically to ensure that they are flashless creatives. Flash will not run well within a mobile device, if at all. So you want to make sure that you're either using a flashless static ad tag, or better yet, developing for HTML5, since HTML5 works across all devices and even desktop. We predict that in the next few years, HTML5 is going to be the prevalent type of ad format across both mobile and desktop. So you want to make sure that you're talking to your clients now, even if mobile isn't in their immediate future. Other things to keep in mind is that with, oh, sorry, Asha, back once more. Thank you. So other things to keep in mind in terms of creating mobile-specific campaigns is that a user's attention span, though is focused on a mobile device, can sometimes be shorter than where they would be in other devices. Mm-hmm. Case in point with video. Though 15 and 30-second mobile videos are popular, we do see a much greater performance on 15 seconds or even less. We expect that the 6-second Vine method is going to be the most commonly used video type of advertising for a mobile device in the future. There are also elements like mobile native ads, which do require specific creatives or really assets that you would need to develop, and as well as trying to engage with really rich media. So Emerate is the popular rich media source for a mobile device, and there's some really exciting things that you can do here, especially if you're leveraging an interstitial, which is going to take up the entire screen of the page. If you have a mobile creative that's built specifically for a mobile environment using rich media, you can take advantage of things like showing a 360-degree view of a car that a user can pinch to zoom in and out or turn it. You can also have them change the colors of the seats, of the outside paints, change the look of the wheels. All really engaging creatives that could get the user to focus and pay more attention on the ad. And of course, recognize the fact that in some cases, especially on a smartphone, not necessarily on a tablet, you are dealing with a smaller screen. So you're not going to want to take a 300 by 250 and pare it down to a 320 by 50. Rather, you're really going to want to create assets built specifically for that size. Next slide. So the third myth we wanted to go over is that there are no cookies allowed on Safari. This is usually the most common objective we get to advertising on mobile web. So the truth to that matter is that there are cookies allowed on Safari. There just aren't allowed to have third-party cookies. That being said, you can drop a first-party cookie, which is why DoubleClick has such a large pool of iOS traffic, does have a mobile web cookie attached to it. Fortunately, a lot of people do click on our ads, and when they do so, we are able to cookie that user. So we highly suggest testing out your on mobile web traffic to see what types of success rates. And certainly, if you're doing cookie matching with us, it makes it even easier to find all of your users, both across Safari browsers as well as other browsers. Next myth. So the last myth that we want to highlight is that mobile is all about downloads and not branding. Now, this was the case a few years ago, but certainly not now, though a lot of people still think that install and app advertising is the only reason that you would get onto mobile. But the truth are, a lot of brands are starting to see the value of mobile because over 50% of impressions are on mobile. So if they're not there, they're not getting in front of those valuable eyeballs. There's also a lot of very unique, engaging types of formats that you can utilize that really work well for a branding campaign, such as mobile video, where you can use sight, sound, and motion to really tell a story. Mobile interstitials that take up the entire screen size and really can capture that user's audience, that audience's attention, as well as get them to engage if they're taking advantage of rich media. There's also native ads that are coming out, which are seeing 10x in terms of click-through rates and are a great medium for both branding as well as downloads. And lastly, the premium inventory is coming on board. It's not just games, but it's also all of the more common desktop buyers that you know and are comfortable with that are starting to sell their mobile inventory online. Next slide. So really, let's take a look at why mobile. In order to understand why you want to move to mobile, you need to take a look at who the consumer is. And technology has really changed the way people access information. Now with mobile, they literally have a computer in the palm of their hands, and this is going with them absolutely everywhere. It's the first device that they look at when they wake up in the morning, and it's the last thing they look at when they go to sleep at night. Today's consumer, too, is actively trying to get access to more content. They want to know absolutely everything out there. And they're not necessarily just using mobile devices, but they're actually moving across screens within a given day. So 90% of people in the US use multiple screens a day. They start in the morning with their smartphones, move to their home desktops, move to their work desktops, use their tablets in between or smartphones on their commute, come back home, watch TV, use their tablets, and then move back to their smartphones before they go to bed at night. Now, a lot of people have argued that great, people are looking at mobile devices, but not necessarily actually doing anything on them. Yet last year, we found that $58 billion of US retail was transacted through mobile devices. And those are industry-wide metrics. So not just something we're seeing at Google, but something that we're seeing across all exchanges as well as any other way that people are buying. Now, the other great thing about mobile is that it's characterized by its ability to connect you to others. Mobile is that device where if you accidentally left home without, you would turn around and go back just to get it. The metrics are that 75% of people would never consider leaving home without it, and to be honest, I don't know who those 25% of people are who would. I've got to imagine that they're really young children who don't yet have their mobile devices, and judging by the way my 3-year-old niece acts, I don't think she's willing to leave home without her tablet as well, because how else will she watch her Mickey Mouse videos? Another interesting fact is that 53% of 16 to 30-year-olds would rather lose their sense of smell than give up that technology that connects themselves to their user. I've watched my 22-year-old niece, a cousin, sit at a table with 15 of her best friends, and every single one of them is on their phone. It's absolutely astounding. And I must admit, too, I am part of that 80% of mobile users who sleep with their phone right next to their head every single night. Mobile has become such a part of our life that we've actually created a new word for it, nomophobia, the fear of being without a mobile device or power service for quite some time. I mean, have you ever tried to go on vacation and go completely off the grid? It's pretty hard. You know, we're constantly living in fear that we are going to be without Wi-Fi, without internet access, or even worse, without the ability to charge our phone, and it's only got 5% battery life. We found that people check their phones 150 times a day and spend at least 162 minutes a day on their phone. So 20% of the media time is spent on mobile devices across smartphones and tablet. The scary thing is today, only 4% of ad spend is being spent on mobile devices. That's a little scary, especially when you look at the fact that over 50% of impressions take place on a mobile device. The ad space really needs to catch up, and eMarketer's predicting that by 2016, mobile revenue is going to surpass that of desktop. This is less than a year and a half away, so we really need to make sure that we're getting there. But the trends are showing that moving to the mobile space will work, and we just need to get there. They're expecting that personal proximity payment transactions will double from 2014 to 2015. This is actually paying for your devices utilizing your phones. Users are feeling more comfortable with the safety and security on a mobile device and have no fears about paying with their device. Another big area where we're seeing growth is that on travel. The majority of travel research is done on mobile. 71% of digital travel research will take place on mobile devices by 2018. A lot of airplanes have actually improved the functionality of their mobile apps as well as their mobile websites to allow people to do research not just on their flights, but as well as where you might be looking to go and what other services they can offer you. The other area we'd like to look at is auto. This is another vertical where we have seen mobile play a huge role. Right now, over 50% of mobile auto shoppers research daily on their smartphones, and 40% of car purchasers perform at least one shopping activity on a mobile device while in the lot. So you've got to keep in mind that even if they're not converting in terms of an actual sale on a mobile device, a lot of the research is happening on these devices. So we need to reach them when they're in that right mindset. Last vertical we want to look at is that of retail. So smartphones and tablets are driving significant usage and increasing revenue for retail. 44% of site traffic and 25% of revenue for retail e-commerce comes from smartphones and tablets. And lifestyle and shopping mobile app usage grew 174% from 2013 to 2014. We do not expect this to change at all in the coming years, outside of just growing more and more. Last year, a lot of retail clients spent a large time improving the payment structure on their app devices, which has just improved the usability and functionality of what they're offering to their users. And the key thing that you want to keep across this is that programmatic is the solution for the mobile space. This is the area that lets you make sure that you're reaching the right person with the right message at the right time. There's a lot of data points that are coming to mobile devices, and the only way to truly capture everything that you can out of this information that you're receiving is by taking advantage of programmatic. So with that, let's take a look at Google's programmatic solution, that of accessing mobile through the AdX exchange. So let's take a look at just where we stand today in terms of our overall offering from an inventory perspective. Next slide. So mobile impressions have grown substantially. We're looking at 19.9 billion impressions a day across smartphones and 5.7 billion across tablets. I just want to reinforce that these are daily impressions. And if we break it out by mobile, web versus app, as we said earlier, 58% is mobile web and 42% is mobile app. So to really get everything you can out of the mobile landscape today, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of both mobile web as well as mobile app. At the bottom, what you're looking at is a comparison of the average impression distribution from Q1 2015 to Q1 2014. In just a few short months, we have seen desktop impressions drop by 6%, and almost all of that has shifted to smartphones. Even tablets are losing some traction to smartphones, as publishers are improving the usability of their apps and their smartphone mobile webs. Next slide. So really, why AdX Mobile? Asha's shortly going to walk us through all the steps. I just wanted to highlight some of the key things to keep in mind. First of all, scale and reach across quality mobile publishers. AdExchange by far has access to the largest programmatic pool of inventory across mobile, web, and app from a global perspective, and we are very strict in terms of the type of inventory we allow onto our exchange. So you can feel confident that you are getting premium quality types of inventory. Next is advanced multi-device real-time targeting. By taking advantage of programmatic strategies, you can run a campaign across multiple devices in real time, and not just run a mobile campaign on this exchange, a video one there, a desktop on the other, but rather run all three within one exchange portfolio so that you can learn insights of how your campaign is doing as a whole, not in silos. Third, engaging ad formats. AdX takes advantage of everything from the 320 by 50 banner to that truly rich interstitial that can be a banner interstitial or it can be a video interstitial. We're also moving into the native space and allowing all of this to be bought and sold through the open auction, or if publishers prefer, through a preferred deal or private auction. Last thing we want to focus on is control and transparency. Through AdX, you have the ability to target exactly what you want, when you want, and we are transparent with the types of inventory that we pass. We pass app IDs, whether it is an Android or an iOS impression. We pass viewability metrics for mobile web and are working on making viewability metrics available in the mobile app space. So with that, I'll pass things over to Asha to dive deeper.
Thanks a lot, Barbara. So as Barbara mentioned, I'm going to be going through the steps that you can take to get started with mobile on AdX. So as you can see, we've broken up the steps to buying success in 4 buckets here. So we'll start off with the basics, going through the basic items that you can basically get started today. Then we're going to go through certification. So certification is really important on the Ad Exchange, as Barbara just mentioned, for control and transparency. So there's a couple of items that we're going to be going through in terms of what you need to do to get certified. Next, the step to get started with, number 3 there, is pre-targeting. So how do you pre-target to buy on mobile, whether that's mobile web or mobile app? And then we'll be going through not necessarily more complex items, but other things that you can do to get smarter with buying on mobile. So we're going to start off with the basics here. So the Ad Exchange is a great way for buyers to buy ad inventory on apps and track their ads performance. So in terms of apps provide another way to increase your return on investment by placing ads where customers are likely to take action. And also, as Barbara mentioned, customers also enjoy a better user experience with the types of ads that are available on ads, such as interstitial ads. So walking through the couple of points highlighted here, there are 2 types of mobile inventory available. So there's mobile apps and mobile web. This inventory can come from a variety of sources on the Ad Exchange, which includes AdMob, AdSense, Ad Exchange publishers, and the Google Display Network. So I'm going to go into these a bit more deeper. So as you can see here, things to think about when you're planning mobile advertising campaigns. Mobile web ads are generally the same as desktop web ads, other than different screen sizes and form factors. So as we mentioned earlier in the myths section, cookies and JavaScript work on mobile web just like they do on desktop web. And they run on both iOS and Android devices. In-app ads are ads that appear in the experience of an app and may include banners or full-screen interstitials or video. So instead of cookies, because this doesn't exist in apps, there are things called IDFA for iOS and Android's Advertising ID, which are industry-standard anonymous identifiers for advertising purposes. And we're going to go into more detail about these 2 a bit later on. There's a range of creative formats that work with mobile, from static images on mobile web to web and in-app video. And these are the rich interactions of the in-app ads and, as mentioned earlier, M-rate creatives. So still in the basics, here are the couple of sizes that we wanted to differentiate between. So the mobile web ads are similar to the desktop web ads, as you can see, with a noticeably different screen size. So even though the screen is small, the customer may be interacting with the screen as frequently. If you're running mobile banner ads, you'll want to start as a best practice to first add a 320 by 50 size. And this is the most common size on the Ad Exchange. Additionally, the 300 by 250 size can be used for mobile ad serving, and even some 728 by 90 ads that are starting to show up on mobile web. You can see that interstitials are labeled there, and we will talk about these ads in a short while. But as we mentioned, they are the full-size ads that are usually served before or after content pages on apps. So Barbara mentioned the importance of HTML5 in today's world and in future years to come. And this is in the buckets of the basics because it's all about the creative. So the best practice here is to build creatives that can work on multiple devices in multiple channels using HTML. And this is the critical component to reaching your audience across devices. And there are actually more people now in the HTML5 compatible environments than in Flash now. And we wanted to mention actually, at Google we've developed a tool called Google Swiffy. Maybe some of you have seen this already. And this actually seamlessly converts SWF files to HTML5 to make them available to a larger audience. So now you can actually extend the value of your existing Flash creative assets and transition them to HTML5, allowing you to bid and serve on mobile environments that we've been talking about today. That's app interstitial, mobile web. So if you haven't tried out that tool, you can do so today. Okay, so step 2, certification. So certification is really important for the Google Ad Exchange because we want to create this consistent ecosystem between publishers and our buyers. So whenever you're using your own proprietary technology, then certification is needed. So if you're using a mobile app server, then you will need to certify that mobile app server. And the way to do this is we're going to share in the resources at the end of the presentation, but if you go on the DoubleClick Ad Exchange website, there's a short form that you just need to fill out, and this goes straight to our certification team, and that will get you started in terms of the certification process. So the other point mentioned there is you can target MRAID inventory to traffic creatives across many apps. So with Ad Exchange, you can traffic rich media 1.0 ads to in-app inventory, and this basically paves the way forward towards a simplified process for tracking one creative with advanced features across many, many apps. So the other thing here is if you plan to use your own proprietary MRAID technology or to wrap with a tag from your existing certified MRAID technology, then you need to be certified for this. And again, exactly the same place as you'd go to get your mobile app server certified, you'll have to get your MRAID technology certified as well. So step 3, pre-targeting. So this is how you first start off in terms of buying on mobile. So in terms of setting up retargeting, you can set up your retargeting so you can serve your ads on apps. So we recommend, as a best practice, keeping the pre-targeting filter as open as possible. The easiest way you can do this, if you don't want to see desktop inventory included, then all you have to do is navigate to your retargeting settings, click platform in the left-hand navigation, and only include mobile and tablet. To target your ads to mobile apps, so if you want to have your ads appear on mobile apps, you'll need to create a third-party ad with specific settings, making sure that the campaign targets all available devices, and then simply add the apps you want to target. If you're using the UI, it's pretty intuitive in the targeting settings where you can include and exclude certain fields. Similarly, to target ads to appear on mobile websites, you will need to create a third-party ad with specific settings, making sure that the campaign targets mobile devices and making sure that ad is a mobile-friendly size. And then I wanted to call out another point here. You can target mobile app inventory based on mobile advertising ID, which I mentioned earlier. So Ad Exchange supports the parsing of the identifier for advertising, That's IDFA for iOS and the Android ID for in-app inventory bid requests. So this ID allows developers, marketers, buyers to track activity for advertising purposes. I'm just going to run through these very quickly here. So you can see the first one. The first identifier is IDFA, and that's for iOS. And users can reset their IDFA or limit ad tracking settings. It's persistent and consistent as well. And actually now we're seeing 500 million plus daily ad queries that contain IDFA. And then for Android, we have something called the Android Advertising ID. And this is supported by the Android devices with the latest version. Again, similar, users can reset their advertising ID or opt out of interest-based ads. And the Android advertising ID is consistent. So these are really useful in terms of if an advertiser has a list of advertising IDs from past visitors to their site domain, they can use those IDs to remarket to those users. Okay, so step 4, the last step here, and it's bucketed as advanced. So firstly, I'm going to start with buy mobile app inventory via real-time bidding. So some fields in the real-time bidding protocol are required when buying mobile app inventory via real-time bidding. For example, the is-app field is an identifier for in-app traffic, and the app ID and app name are fields used to specify what app inventory is being sent from and where. So we've mentioned interstitial ads before, but basically Ad Exchange makes interstitial ad inventory available to all buyers as a new ad size. So as mentioned, an interstitial ad covers the entire device screen and can be dismissed by the user. So when Ad Exchange sends an ad request, it sets the is interstitial request field to true if the request is a mobile full screen ad request. In response, as a buyer, you must specify the ad size by setting the ad width and ad height in the bid response. So it's not very advanced, but yeah, bit more configurations for this. And then I wanted to call out location. So Ad Exchange can take the location of users into account when bidding on app ads. So this is really great for serving ads for local establishments like restaurants within a few miles of a user, for example. So we wanted to call out mobile video. So video for mobile devices is categorized in 2 types of inventory, so mobile web and in-app. So details for each type of inventory is listed. You can see there, there's app video interstitial, mobile web in-stream, and video there for mobile web as well. So app inventory includes both AdMob interstitials and app in-stream. And there are certain specifications there, like 15 or 30 seconds for the ad, skippable only. Again, HTML5 only, and of course certification is required. And mobile web inventory consists of HTML5 compatible inventory that accepts fast ads, and HTML5 also includes MP4 and WebM creative types as well. And you can pre-target mobile video inventory to only receive requests for impressions that match your desired targeting criteria. So this can include all mobile web only, or mobile app only. And you can actually do this via the AdX UI, as mentioned earlier, or the REST API if you're using that. Okay, so Barbara mentioned native advertising, and this is new to Ad Exchange. So with native advertising, it's basically ads that maintain coherence in the formatting and content within the hosting app or site. So you can see the 2 examples here. There's the app install ads, which is shown on the left-hand side of the screen, and then there's content ads, which is native to the content site. And this basically provides reach to native inventory across thousands of publishers from AdX and AdMob. And what essentially happens is that native requests will ask for a set of fields for either app install or content ads. And you, as an RTB buyer, can reply with each of those. And then what happens is that Google will put the ad together and serve it to the publisher. And so far, we've seen, I think Barbara mentioned this earlier, but we've seen a 10x increase in CTR, 9% lift in brand affinity, and also 26% lift purchase intent. So the other thing we wanted to call out here is app deep linking. So what this functionality actually allows for is for marketers to bring users directly to a specific location within an app. So this basically increases user engagement if they've already installed this device. So users will be taken to the relevant part of the app, and this simplifies the conversion process. And the way you do this is that you just need to declare the deep linking URI in the click-through URL field. So not very hard there. It's just one simple field there. Okay, so interstitials, we've mentioned this in the training already, but they're basically large formats allowing for premium engaging ads. And you can see a couple of examples there, like the image, app download, magazine, rich media. And the ad diversity leads to reduced risk of what we call ad blindness. And also it's a very user-controlled experience, as even though the app takes up the full screen, users can at any time dismiss the ad and or skip non-relevant ads as well. So it's a very user-controlled experience. This is why it's a very popular ad format at the moment. And a couple of stats on that. We have been seeing a 10x increase in CTR for interstitial ads, and it's actually generated 5 times the CPM compared to banners, and this is primarily driven by the increase in CTR. And it basically appeals to 3 types of advertisers. So brand advertisers get greater value via the increased engagements with these large rich media ads. The second type of advertiser is the performance advertiser, so higher conversion rates with the interstitials because they're more engaging. And also programmatic advertisers, as it's increased efficiency in targeting optimal audiences with more tuned RTB algorithms. Okay, so that's the technical part over, basically. I'm going to hand over to Barbara to run through where this all fits into the programmatic ecosystem.
Thanks, Sasha. Yeah, so next thing we want to leave you guys with is that of what we are calling our mobile programmatic playbook. So this is what you should be talking to your clients about, how to, all the steps from organization to measurement, how they should be thinking about their mobile campaign. Next slide. So we're going to walk through the 5 key elements, that is organize, design, execute, reach, and measure. So let's start off with organize. So taking a look at organizing audience insights, this is really the first step that you want to have with your clients and get the conversation rolling. Trying to figure out from them, what are their goals? What are their strategy? And really, who are those users so that you know where to reach them? Are these users on Androids? Are they on iOS? Are they on both? Do they tend to only be on web or their app as well? If you've got both, then you certainly want to make sure either you or the end client or some third party that you're working with are collecting the right mobile audiences. So that's taking advantage of the mobile web cookie as well as getting the device IDs from the app so that you can properly segment. And lastly on the organization is think about everything else that might impact how that campaign performs as well as how you need to target. Is location an issue? Are time of days issues? If it's location, How granular do they need to be? Is lat long an absolute requirement, or is zip code enough? For times of days, are there certain days of the week, or are there actual specific times where you might want to favor one device or the other based off of usage pattern? The next part of the programmatic playbook for mobile is that of designing compelling mobile-ready creative. So we discussed this earlier, but HTML5, HTML5, HTML5. You want to make sure that you are always developing ads using this methodology. That way you have no problems across mobile web, app, or desktop. If you are not providing creative shops for your clients, make sure that you're having this conversation early, even for those not thinking about mobile, so that they are speaking to their creative agencies or building it out themselves. Second, you want to make sure that you have those mobile-friendly creatives. Just because you can run a desktop ad on a mobile device doesn't mean that that's necessarily the best thing. Take advantage of things like interstitials, shorter mobile video, native ads, rich media, to really take advantage of everything that you can do within a mobile environment. And whenever possible, use dynamic creatives. This is really letting you layer in the data that you are receiving from the mobile website or app and delivering a message that makes sense to that user based on their past history, based on the time of day, based on the seasonality, or based on the weather for their specific location. Third up is that of executing with a unified strategy. So this one is really important. What you want to do, oh, and Asha, if you don't mind moving to the next slide. Asha, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I think there's just a bit of a delay on the slides.
Got it. All right, so I'll just walk through them and they'll show up shortly. So on executing with a unified strategy, you want to make mobile core by executing along other campaigns. We've seen a lot of people say, all right, this is my desktop strategy, this is my video strategy, and this is my mobile strategy. But you really want to start making all of those one strategy and different elements of a core strategy. So mobile should be not just an element of every single campaign, but actually a key element of every single campaign. Try to use one tag across channels so that you can measure effectively, and as well as developing a strategy for audience segmentation and certainly targeting across devices. In today's day and age, when that audience is moving across multiple devices throughout their day, you want to make sure you know how are you going to capture that user from start of their day to end of their day, as well as start of their purchase path to end of their purchase path. Next up, our fourth strategy is reaching audiences across screens. So make sure you're not ignoring all of those that 20 to 50% of media that your consumers are using every single day. You want to target the mobile audiences that matter most to a specific campaign and definitely access them across mobile, web, and app. You don't want to favor mobile, web, or app unless there's a specific reason to do so. But more importantly, you want to make sure not to favor a specific device. So you don't want to only target Android users or only target iOS users. That way you're really opening it up to the largest pool of audience across every single device that they're utilizing. Lastly, measuring the impact. Now this is one that can be very, very important because by measuring the impact, you can prove to your advertisers that this campaign worked and getting more budget from them later. So talk up front to them about what their goals are and how you're going to track that information for them. If it's something that you can't track, you want to make sure that that's something you discuss. That way you're not being held up to standards that you cannot achieve. So certainly try to develop a cross-device, multi-screen strategy for measurement. And if you don't have the capability to do so, see what third parties you can work with in order to still achieve that. And then, of course, absolutely using programmatic. this is the future for not just mobile advertising, but digital advertising in general. It lets you really find that right user at the right time and hit them with the right message. And then lastly, in terms of measurement, always tie back that mobile advertising to the brand goals and make execution a core component of your marketing strategy. Get everybody involved who's part of this decision and make sure that they are aware of how things are performing, and optimize, optimize, optimize. If at first you don't succeed, go back to the drawing board, see what needs to be reworked, and make those changes so that you are getting the impact you initially hoped for.
Great, thanks, Barbara. So I'm going to run through a couple of resources that we mentioned today, and that'll be pretty handy to take away today as well. So after this, we're going to go into the Q&A session. I can see a couple of questions that have come in. While I'm going to the resources, if you have any other questions that you want to ask, then please do use this time to submit them in. Okay, so as I mentioned, in terms of certification, which was step 3, you can find the form that you need to fill in on the AdExchange Mobile Help Center, and you can access it right now, in fact, via that Go link there. It's case sensitive. Otherwise, you can just do a quick search, and I'm sure you'll be able to find the Mobile Help Center. If not, you can just type that link out now. Then we talked about we were talking about branding and HTML5 creatives. So there's actually a really cool article on the Think with Google site. It's called Build a Brand. So that might be quite interesting to have a look through and read through. I mentioned that Google have developed a tool to convert Flash creatives to HTML5. That's called Google Swiftly. So you can access it via that link there. We also have we introduced some interstitial best practices, sizes, and what you can do with it. But if you wanted a full list of the best practices to use this type of ad format, then you can do so via that link there. And then just to training shout-outs there. If you're new to AdExchange, if you're a new buyer, then please do remember to complete the AdExchange Fundamentals e-learning. There's 5 modules, from the basics to programmatic direct to mobile. So it's quite a good self-paced e-learning for you to take. If you've already taken it but you haven't got a certification, it's just a 20-question short exam, multiple choice exam. Then you can do so via that link there at the bottom. Okay, so we'll go to the questions that have been submitted in now via the Q&A panel. So we had a good one here. Barbara, I might need your help on a couple of these. So how do I know if mobile web inventory is mobile optimized or a full site experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually have a flag that we pass through in the bid request that designates whether it's mobile web optimized or not.
Nice. Okay, cool. That's yeah, short but sweet answer there. And this might be slightly technical. So in terms of the accuracy of location, latitude and longitude information for mobile inventory. So do you know how accurate that that item is?
I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure lat long is only provided on an app basis, not on a mobile web basis. But when we do pass lat long on the app side, we are north of 90% accurate. I would say significantly north of 95%, probably significantly north of 95%.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, in my follow-up email, I'll double check the location for information for mobile web. And then we had a last question here. I believe maybe need to double check this with Barbara, but in terms of IDFA and Android ID, they're both, in terms of the way that they're implemented and run, they're both consistent and persistent, right?
That is my knowledge.
Okay, yeah, because I think on the slide it wasn't labeled as persistent, but I believe that both identifiers are persistent. But again, we can double check. It's probably just missed out the word persistent on Android ID. But yeah, thank you so much for those questions. They were great questions. We only had 3. But yeah, if anyone has any other questions, please do submit them. You can do so via the Q&A button on the left-hand side. So I'll just give another 20 seconds for any other questions that comes in. Otherwise, we can wrap up. Okay, so while any other remaining questions come in, as always, you can give us your feedback from whether it's to do with this training or what was presented, and you can do so via this form here. Sorry for the complicated URL there. It's, yeah, wouldn't you believe it's actually shortened. So it's goo.gl/forms/ and this is case sensitive. So yeah, you can just type that out and give us feedback. If you can't be bothered to type that out right now, then when this video gets uploaded to YouTube, the link will be at the bottom in the comments section, so you can just click it from that. So if you missed the start, I know a couple of people joined a bit late, so if you missed anything at the start or wanted to watch this again or send it to your colleagues who may have missed this, then if you check back on the ADX training page where you started the training session, then the recording will be posted there. So yeah, I'm going to wrap up. So thank you so much everyone for joining. We had a large audience, so this is great. So hopefully you found this very useful, and you can maybe get started with a couple of things that we've mentioned today in terms of mobile web or mobile app buying. If you have a managed account, then if you wanted help with any of these things, then you can reach out to your account manager as always. If not, then the resources that I presented are a great way to start with this. Our help centers have really thorough documentation, and there's other resources actually there that I pointed to, which takes you to the developer site. So if I just go back and show you. The interstitial ads best practices is actually on the developers site, DoubleClick Ad Exchange developers site, and there's loads of other articles there on native ads as well. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining today, and hopefully see you on a future training. Thanks everyone. I think Barbara's already dropped off, so bye.